All right, reading settings. There's a couple of different options here for not only reading your blog, but also feed reading with RSS and syndication. So, for the most part, most people want to be able to show the latest posts on the home page of their blogs. But for some smaller blogs or some people that maybe want to show the same information to everyone who first enters the site, maybe you want to display a static page, and that's a single page of your choosing. So what you want to do is you want to select a page that you want them to always see, and no matter who comes in, it will always show the about or whatever page you select on the home page. So also, if you're in the blog pages show at most however many that you want to show. If you use a lot of excerpts, if you use a lot of summaries with small things, maybe you want to show more to people, or maybe you want to show less because you have full text, you can change that right here. Also, the syndication feeds show the most recent. A lot of times, I will actually put a higher number in here because I want anybody, whoever's reading my feed, I want them to be able to see more posts and have access to more content. So I will actually put that at a higher number. But if you're using a feed for something of your choosing, sometimes you maybe want to put that at a lower number. And also, there's also a feed section here that says for each article in a feed, show full text or the summary. If you select the summary, it will first choose the excerpt, and that's where the excerpt comes into play in this instance for your blog posting. So if you're choosing and writing an excerpt, and whenever a feed is displayed, it will actually pull from that excerpt. Next, it will pull the text up to the read more, and then if there's no read more, it'll just pull up to a certain amount of text to show. So if you wanted to use excerpts to show maybe something a little bit different to your feed people, you can do that with a summary versus full text. And for encoding, UTF is pretty universal, so just go ahead and keep it at that. And that's it for reading. Okay, we're going to install WordPress on your server. After you've uploaded the WordPress installation files and base files up to your website through your web host, you're going to want to go to your URL, and then this site's going to show up first. And you're going to want to click on Create a Configuration File. This is the prerequisite stuff it's going to ask you before you install. So you're going to click here on Let's Go. And this is the stuff that you're going to get from your web host. This is your database information from MySQL. You're going to want to retain your database name, your username, your password, and sometimes in some instances you're going to want to keep your database host too. A list of them is right here. If you are on 1&1, DreamHost, GoDaddy, ICDsoft, Media Template Grid Server, Pair Networks, Rackspace Cloud, Yahoo, or TopHost, there's a chance that you might actually be changing the database host information. But in this example, we won't really need to. So, okay, I'm going to enter my username and my password, and my database host is staying the same. It's going to be localhost. Your table prefix is used in case that you need to install more than one WordPress in one database. Sometimes this is useful if you're creating a lot of small blogs and you don't need to have a ton of databases sitting on your web host. If you're going to create a larger blog, however, it might be better if you go ahead and do a separate database for it though. After your information is in, you're going to hit submit. And if everything runs and checks out okay with your web host, this should show up. Otherwise, it'll say error establishing database connection. So you want to run the install. This is where it actually puts all the tables in the database. Okay, and here's your blog. Here is and your email address. And usually you want to keep this checked if you're going to have a public blog. Install WordPress. And here's your username and password. You are all set. All right, and we're about to wrap up posts here. I just want to talk about two quick things that are on here that you're not going to really visit that much, but you may visit once or twice every now and again. And I just wanted to go ahead and go over them real quick. The first one is tags, and the second one will be categories. We'll go over that in a second. The tags are basically those one-word keywords that you're going to associate with each of your posts. If you wanted to go ahead and if you wanted to just add them right here or be able to edit them here, you're going to go to this tag section. Some themes, but not many, once again, are going to utilize a description of a tag. So maybe if you wanted to use that, you can, but it's not really something that's very big that you needed to do. The categories section is something that you might want to visit. The categories basically is pretty self-explanatory. You have a category name and sometimes a description, but once again, check with your theme on that. But the major thing about a category is you can have this thing called a category parent. Basically, you can set up subcategories within your site for your posts. So let's say if we're using the example of Apple again, well, you can have maybe, let's say, an Apple category, but then you can have subcategories of each of its products, such as the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac Mini, the Mac Pro, so on and so forth. And then within each of those, let's say that you have your iPhone, you can have maybe the App Store, or maybe iPhone Generation 1, or new features, or gossip, or latest news, rumors. So you can kind of nest them upon each other and have a much more structured setup of your blog. So that pretty much does it for categories. One other thing that's a really useful option inside of categories is if you go to your category section and you can see the different options that are available, you can also see how many posts are in your category. So if you have something that's got a whole lot of posts in it, and then maybe a category that maybe only has one or two, maybe you should take out that category and put it somewhere else. It's obviously not really doing what you want it to do. So this is kind of a nice little overview of exactly where the most of your blog content is basically being directed. So that pretty much does it for posts, and next we are going to move on to links. All right, settings. There's actually a lot to cover in this because there's so many different things that you can do to tweak your blog to personalize it to your individual needs. We'll go this one section at a time, and we'll basically cover the gist of what's going on, as well as a couple of little hidden gems here and there that most people may overlook or might not necessarily know about. We'll start with general settings. This is basically the information about your blog and how certain items are displayed. If you ever wanted to edit your subheadline or your tagline, you're going to find that right here in general settings, and that's where you're going to be able to edit it. Your WordPress address URL and your blog address URL, 99% of the time, this is going to be exactly the same, but every now and again you have a special circumstance where it's not. If you're unsure, just leave it the way it is. The email address, this is where all the notifications are going to get sent. This isn't your user email address. This is where your notifications are. So after a while, let's say that you start to get a lot of comments and you start to get a lot of users registering all the time, you may want to switch that to a general catch-all email address that gets processed and funneled away somewhere. So that way every morning your inbox isn't flooded with anywhere between 10 to 50 system email addresses. So this is actually something that you maybe want to be able to change later on. In the beginning, it's okay to have it as yours, but as you get more and more activity, it's something that you'll want to change. Membership. If you want anyone to register, your login meta will show it will show also a register link that people can register username and password and be able to sign up for your site. If you check that box, that's what's going to show up there. The new user default role, you're always going to almost want to put that at subscriber. That is someone who can go in and put in comments and read. Anything above that, you run the risk of, messing up any of your blog posts. So you usually always want to keep that at subscriber. 99% of the time, it's where you're always going to keep it. Your time zone, that's what's going to be displayed whenever you're adding a post. It's going to show your local time to the rest of the world after you've added the post. So date format, if you're in a different country and your dates showed up a little bit differently, you can change that here. Same thing with time. And also the week starts on. This applies to the calendar in your sidebar. So if you want your week to start on Sunday instead of Monday or whenever, or maybe if you have an internal blog for employees and the pay period starts on Thursday, sometimes you maybe want to adjust your calendar accordingly. So, and that is all for the general settings. Okay, after you've logged into your new WordPress blog, you're going to go to the dashboard. We're just going to cover some things about the dashboard really quickly. This is an overview of your site. It's pretty much your site in one shot. As you develop your blog, you'll see different things on here that will start to change over time. A couple of things about the dashboard. Clearly this up here is a link to your actual blog if you wanted to go and take a look at it. And over here on your left is your navigation. You're going to find that, and this should be a pretty standard for a lot of people. Also, a little thing about the navigation along the side is that if you'll notice in between where each of these navigation bars break, your icon will change, your mouse icon. If you click on that, that'll actually compact your navigation on the side so you can save yourself a little bit more screen room if you have a limited screen. So you want to really try and maximize your real estate. Your stuff will come out, you just hover over it, and it'll all just come out here on the side instead. So it might save you a little bit of room. And you can click back and it'll restore itself. Up here at the top, you'll have these things that it's commonly used things that you may want to do real quick that you don't want to necessarily have to navigate to along the menu, or if you're somewhere else, you don't want to have to try and find your way back to it. New posts, new pages, you upload media in your media library such as photos and other things, and then also your comments section. So that's a quick thing. This right here, the right now, basically shows exactly what your blog is about. Show you how many categories, pages, posts, tags, and how many comments you have, including the ones that are visible, the ones that you need to moderate in case they're spam, and the ones that have been flagged as spam. Also, it shows your theme, how many widgets you're using, and what type of WordPress you're using. If for any reason that you need to update it, it'll display it here, and it'll also display it down here. You can change your theme by clicking on this button very quickly. So, recent comments, if you have a comment that you may feel that you want to comment back on, or maybe maybe it shows that maybe it might be something that's spam, you'll see some of the recent comments here with also a quick menu that pops down that you can do right there from the dashboard. If you say, well, that's actually a spam comment, I want to spam it, or I maybe even just want to delete it. Plugins, this is from WordPress itself. It's actually feeding to you directly. It's showing you kind of new plugins, popular plugins, recently updated ones. So in case it's something that you might be interested in, it kind of keeps you in the loop about what's going on in the plugins. Drafts, this is something that if you keep a lot of drafts for common use, or maybe it's something you haven't completed, it'll show there. It's not really something that's used that much depending on where you are. Also, the WordPress development blog shows you what's going on in the WordPress world, such as right now, as of the recording, Beta 2 just came out for WordPress 3.0, so if some people like to see what's going on in the new versions of WordPress, it'll show you that kind of stuff here. Other WordPress news, it's just basically their feed of their different things. And your incoming links down here at the bottom. Your incoming links will basically show you how many people are linking to your blog. So basically what you want to do is just find out if you wanted a quick overview without having to do the manual searching yourself, that will do that for you. So it's a really nice thing to have. Also, another thing is that the WordPress news is configurable, and so is incoming links. If you wanted to configure exactly where the reader was for your incoming links, you can click on the configuration right here and adjust it accordingly. This is a little bit more advanced, so some people may not want to do this. So if you have a lot of items coming in and new ones coming in every day, maybe you want to see which ones are coming in, or if maybe you don't really care, you just want to show 5. If you want to display the date that they were added, you can do that too. So it's just a quick option for you to have. Same thing for the other WordPress news, you can configure it. And the best part about other WordPress news is that this is actually a feed reader. So if you have something maybe in your industry that you want to use, you can actually put anything you want in here, any feed at all. So if you wanted to feed from your favorite blog, or your top digs, or your stumble upon, you can put any feed in there. It just says WordPress news for now. So if you want to, that's just a quick feed reader for you to use at your disposal. It's not just WordPress news. Another handy feature about the dashboard that a lot of people don't really know about is the screen options and help sections. These are actually everywhere, and they're configurable across a multitude of pages, so they kind of change depending on what page you're on. But where it has some of the most robust options is on the dashboard. So if you click this, a drop down will come up, and you can basically show what you do or do not want to see every time you log in. Other WordPress news, the development blog, your drafts, that kind of stuff you don't really care about, so it doesn't really matter and you don't need to use it. The plugins, and you can make all that go away. Also, if you have a lot of dashboard widgets, a lot of plugins might start to display them after a while, and so it's kind of making it crowded. You can adjust how many columns your dashboard is showing, and that'll automatically update, and you can switch things around on the fly. So I want that right there, my recent comments on the right, and that can help you organize it in a different way. Let's say if you have a lot of widgets. So that's another thing that you can do with the screen options. One last thing I didn't mention was the quick press. Quick press basically allows you to, if you have a quick thought or something that you just really need to get down really fast, you can put that in the quick press area. It does not have a rich text editor like the regular posting does, so remember that. So this is usually very plain text content that you're going to be putting in the quick press area. So that pretty much does it for the dashboard, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, permalinks. This is actually a very, very big one that's used all the time, but not many people really know how to use it. Basically, what this does is changes the URL to something a little bit more spider friendly and a little bit more user friendly for people to be able to link to on your blog and people to be able to see on your blog, and for the spiders to be able to eat keywords off of in your blog. The common settings that they say are actually really not that common. Day and name, month and name, numeric. A lot of people actually really don't use that. A lot of people will actually use a custom structure, but it's a little bit more complicated for some to use if you don't know what they are. So what you can do to change it is you can either just select your different one and you can hit Save Changes, or you can use a custom structure altogether. And what you can do is you can use the tags that are available, and there's a link right here that show you exactly what tags there are, and it shows you these right here. Anything from category to post name to post ID to the date, many different things that are available. So a very common one is the category structure followed by the post name structure. You just simply enter category, a /, and then the post name tag, and then anything that you want after it. I put an HTML in there. It makes some hackers a little bit harder to tell that you're using WordPress because it doesn't say PHP after it. Just different things along those lines. You can put whatever you want in there. You can put a /, you can put nothing at all. You can even put extra keywords in there if you want to, and it will still recognize it. So it's a very, very handy structure to use. One other thing I wanted to touch on was this optional section down here. By default, if they're browsing a category and showing all the posts, up in the URL it'll just show the category. But if you want something to come before that category, such as a targeted keyword or something like that, it's a certain thing that you want to show before the actual category name in your URL, you can put it here. So let's say if you wanted to put categories, and everything that'll show up after that will be the actual category, but it'll actually put that extra category keyword in there, or whatever keyword that you show. Same thing with the tags. If you wanted to put my tags, then and any other tags that will show after that, and it'll give a little bit more logical structure to your URLs. That pretty much does it for permalink settings. Now on to the next section. Alright, this is your comments section. Basically, this section is more for moderation than it is anything else. You can do a wide variety of things on here, but for the most part, it's just for general house cleaning and keeping up with the comments on your site. You're going to have a couple of different options inside of here. First of all, you're going to be able to see what kind of approved comments that you have that are actually public and displayed on your blog. Another thing you're going to have is, as your blog gains reputation and gets out there on your search engines, you're going to start to get spammed comments. You can cut down on that with a variety of plugins and things like that, but there's still going to be ones that are going to be in there. You're just going to get spam. That's just the way it is. So what you want to do is you want to look in there every now and again, and you want to basically clean it out. It keeps your blog nice and clean and nice and running very smoothly if you make sure that your trash is emptied and that your spam is kept to a minimum. So also, you're going to have some sometimes valid comments that are sometimes just sent to the spam folder, either because they included a couple of link resources in there, or maybe put in a couple of bad keywords that made it flagged as spam. So you do want to search through your spam and search through your pending comments and approve them, or deny them as necessary. But basically, this comment section is just to kind of keep up on what people are discussing about inside of your blog, and basically keep out all the bad comments to make sure that your viewers aren't turned off and your readers aren't turned off to any bad comments that are on your site. And there's some more advanced options in the settings that we'll cover later, but that pretty much does it for comments for right now.